And now Commissioner Paris will lead us in a word of prayer. Secretary Management will lead us in a word of prayer.
Good morning. Let's now believe and pray. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we want to thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of health. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve the public service. Father, we don't take it for granted that these opportunities, which are few, you found it necessary that we get a portion of it, and we want to appreciate. Father, now as we start this day, we invite you, Father, into our midst. Give us your grace. Give us your favor. Speak to all the speakers of the day. Allow them to give us the words of wisdom that can enable this public service to move forward. As we start, Lord, bless the participants and enable us to listen keenly with the intention of seeing what is important for us as we serve the public service, so that we are able to serve with dedication. As we start, be with us, Lord, and as we finish, we shall remember to thank you, Lord. In Jesus Christ we pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you so much. Kindly resume your seats. Thank you so much. Let's appreciate for our choir for the good songs, and also for leading us in the national anthem and East African Community Anthem. I take cognizance of our presenter who is already with us. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is yet another great day that the Lord has made unto us. We have no reason than to celebrate and to say thank you for this opportunity. Yesterday was our day one as we celebrate the Africa Public Service Day 2025, taking cognizance of all the aspects that we covered yesterday, issues of equitable governance, issues of agile, issues of being resilience, and the presenters and the discussants gave us good stuff yesterday. Just turn to your neighbor and ask your neighbor. Have you turned to your neighbor? Do you have a neighbor? Turn to the neighbor. If you don't have a neighbor, get one. Ask your neighbor, who is the greater evil? Ask your neighbor, who is the greater evil? He who pays to sin, or he who sins for pay? Have you asked your neighbor? Can I repeat? Who is the greater evil? Ask your neighbor that question. Who is a greater evil? He who sins for pay, or he who pays for sins? I will need answers by the close of business, because it is prudent. Yesterday we had a very elaborate question from someone called Ngala, who asked us what is the role of public service in terms of managing and reducing a number of things in terms of corruption. And we were given some takeaway home. And that's the reason today we are here this morning for our day two, for us to actualize and realize what is ahead of us today. With me here is a good friend of mine for a long time, who serves as the commissioner at the National Gender and Equality Commission, NGEC. And he has over 20 years of experience in ICT industry, spanning in terms of banking, telecommunications, cloud technology, and ICT for D sector in Africa and Asia. He worked in banking telecommunications with a focus of connecting underserved communities to the digital economy. And that's the reason today we are asking ourselves, how can we maximize digitalization in order for us to enhance access to information and accountability? Kindly put your hands together for one and only Mr. Michael Mbithuka Nzomo. Let's appreciate our presenters as they come on stage.
Thanks, Mike. And great patriotic Kenyans who are here in the room today with us. As he's rightfully put it, my name is Nzomo Bituka. I'm a commissioner at the National Gender and Equality Commission. I'm here for that, but I'm also here to share stories of what I've been able to gather for the last 22 years in my practice in private sector, and what I've been able to observe in my last 184 days in government. I was appointed in December last year. My slides ready. So I was appointed last year in December, so assumed office on 10th of December. So today I'm exactly 184 days old in the public service. While here, and in my experience, I've always recounted my interactions with people in the public service in all those many years. And one of the things that I need to tell you is that I've seen great zeal in the public service. I've seen great commitment. But beyond that is the patriotism that I've seen in Kenyans who want to serve our public and ensure that we can be able to make our lives better for ourselves and for future generations. But I'm not here for my personal story. I'm here to speak about a topic that is on leveraging digitalization to enhance access to information and accountability. And for this particular topic, when Sharon shared it with me, I asked myself, is this access only to our publics? Is it to our stakeholders? Or can government also benefit from this access to information? And I think Mary here will be able to share with us and confirm that it's both ways. That it's not a duty only for the public to be able to access information, but equally for the government, because unless we access that information, then government will not be able to offer efficient and effective services to our citizens. And I'll start it with that quotation that is on our screens. And it says that when digital transformation is done right, it's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, but when done wrong, all you have is a really fast caterpillar. This is attributed to George Westerman from MIT, Sloan Institute of the Digital Economy. So meaning that as we do all these activities, and we've to be cognizant of the fact that it has to respond to needs in the community, in our society, but beyond that is for us to be able to make our services a lot better. So first things first. There is always confusion about, what is digitalization, what is digitization. At times people use them interchangeably, but I just wanted to make it a bit easier for us so that as we start our conversation today, then it's clear to us what we are talking about. And essentially, digitization refers to information while digitalization is about the process. So for us to achieve digitalization, then digitization has to have happened. So digitization is essentially conversion of data and processes to a digital format, while digitalization goes beyond digitization. It's really a mouthful. Digitization and digitalization go hand in hand in order to transform organizations and digital enterprises, allowing for more agility and performance improvement. And so for the purpose of that digitalization for us is to ensure that we can be able to improve processes and our systems as we respond to various needs within our society. We all remember around 2011, 2012, the famous comedians who took us through to Metoka analog to Menda digital. And this is where we are at as a government. And today we are saying that enhancing access to information is a cornerstone of good governance. With the advent of digital era, technology has transformed how governments operate. Digital tools now facilitate faster communication, enhanced data processing, and greater citizen participation in governance. And we've seen it across in our public service through the Huduma centers and digitalization of more than 5,000 services across government. The shift towards digitization aims to improve public service delivery by harnessing the power of, harnessing the power of technology and connectivity in a whole government challenge. So digitization is always seen as a stepping stone towards competitiveness, and improving on service delivery across all sectors of government. So why does it matter? It matters because it increases transparency and combats corruption. Mike, you've already spoken to that, and I think the presenter who came before me on yesterday spoke to this particular element. It also enables real-time citizen engagement. I'll be able to share examples with you about what has happened in other countries and why it's important for us to be able to get engaged. It also promotes inclusion of marginalized populations, and we'll be looking at this deeply. From our mandate as NGC, we look at all these aspects, people in rural areas, people who have disabilities. Can they be able to access this information in easy to read or understand formats? And we're also surrounded by digitalization, whether it's through our social media, whether it's through street advertisements and smartphone applications. Digital data has become an essential component of our daily lives. And digitalization necessitates the digitization of information. Organizations can embark on digitalization paths where they can be able to move all their assets into digital formats. And for government, we want to win with digitalization. And how are we doing it is through the integration of digital technologies in government as the potential to transform how public institutions function and engage with citizens. And I said in my opening remarks that it's both ways, that the government also wishes to access information from our publics, and the publics also wish to access that information from government. And tools like artificial intelligence. Kuna Waswahili hapa, kuna watu wa pwani. AI is now the new buzzword. Kwa Kiswahili tunaita akili mnamba. Blockchains and big data can significantly enhance transparency, accountability, and decision-making within public administration. These innovations promise a more efficient and accessible government. Digitized information can be more easily shared, accessed, and analyzed. It is stored and transmitted in a digital format. This can enable improved collaboration, decision-making, and overall government agility. And you spoke about government agility and the need for us to be quite responsive to our citizens. So what are the benefits? One of the huge benefits that come from this is that digitization is a key driver for economic growth and government revenue, as well as supporting socioeconomic development and offering a path towards shared prosperity. I'll be able to share with you, based on the bottom-up economic agenda, what some of these numbers are once we move towards digitalization. Digitalization also improves the efficiency and transparency of government and public services by enhancing operations, reducing costs, unlocking new revenue streams, and improving data analysis for enhanced customer experience. And I spoke about it, for government, our interest is to ensure that all revenue streams are mapped across the country, and digitalization can be able to assist us be able to reach to these revenue streams across the country. It enables the automation of repetitive tasks and the streamlining of business processes leading to increased production and efficiency. So tasks that are routine. For us, why is it that we cannot as government leverage AI and be able to automate those and leave the rest of the teams within government to focus on innovation and how else we can improve on our citizen experience. Ultimately, the goal is to create a more transparent, efficient, and responsive government that fosters greater public trust and participation. These are the numbers that I was speaking about. That if we do digitalization, especially around different sectors, within agriculture, if we focus on precision agriculture, for instance, is that it's been shown to improve production by up to 20% and profitability by up to 21%. Within other sectors, if we consider sectors like healthcare, you're seeing that there's an improvement of more than 20% in terms of our facilities and also access to information. In healthcare, for instance, if you leverage AI, you'll be able to know even where to distribute drugs. You'll be able to proactively be able to respond to pandemics and diseases that are only prevalent in certain areas of the country. But importantly is that for government, digitalization will increase revenue by more than 12% on average and decrease leakage by 30% using digital IDs. And this has been shown to happen in other countries. Estonia, South Africa, they've been able to try this and it's working for them. But in all this, what does Mwananchi want? Mwananchi wants information that is clear and simple, in simple language, and expect to complete all transactions in one digital channel through a single digital journey. And this means that once you initiate a transaction online, then they don't want a complicated system for them to be able to finish transactions. Mwananchi also wants government to provide a seamless user experience by consolidating digital channels instead of visiting multiple websites and applications. How if government can be able to have just one app, which is gov.ke. Mwananchi also wants to using the same solution for recurring service transactions, such as identification and payment. They want it to be very easy, because what we've done at the moment is that, yes, there are some journeys that we are putting online, but the same journey requires us to come with physical documents. And a good example from my experience when I was joining public service is that you go onto eCitizen, you apply for a good contact certificate, but again, you're required to bring a physical receipt wherever you're going to make the application. Why not automate the entire journey for the best user experience? So what have been our drawbacks? Some of our greatest drawbacks are around bureaucracy, the fact that government is not used to just digitizing everything. There are processes that are within government. We want our vouchers to be signed off, physically, not with an electronic signature. The other drawback is around the whole issue, and Mary is going to speak to it, about our infrastructure. Is it available across the country? Are areas within, some areas within the country where we cannot be able to access internet? And the numbers are out there. Our internet penetration is around 40%. So meaning that if government is going to go fully digital, then our 60% of our population is not going to be reached. Beyond that is the population that is within the PWDs, people with visual impairment. How have we been able to do in terms of just digitizing records? And just to share an example, because I've served in the board of an international NGO, one of the things that we found out is that digitalization is the easiest path to creating equality within these spaces, because visually impaired persons find it easy to interact with digital content as opposed to paper content. The other drawback that we have is around the whole issue of all these information available on the World Wide Web, and whether it's all credible. The emergence of fake news has been a big problem for a lot of us, and I think those are challenges that government should be able to look at. Moving next is about opportunities for progress. And here, my take is that there's a lot that government can be able to do. One, starting from integrating all the different platforms, because government is running different disintegrated systems. Information is sitting with different people, and just to share a very good example about where I work at the moment, is that there is data that we have about GBV. If you move from the national agenda and go to the Kenya Police, they have different kind of data. When you go to KNBS, they also have different sets of data. How if we integrate all these data, put it in one place and have only one source of truth across government? The other thing is about just the whole issue of efficiency. Not having all these systems around government. Can government just run systems that can be able to talk to each other? Because once you do that, then it becomes a lot easier. Third, but not last, is ensuring that we have we share knowledge, because skills gaps is a big problem for a lot of us. I know there are programs within the Ministry of ICT to be able to do all these ICT skills training across the country. There are hubs that are being opened, and I know, Mary, you are looking at, in excess of 25,000 across the country. And once we get there and we have a substantial mass of Kenyans who have all these ICT skills, and it becomes a lot easier for us to scale up. So let's see what has happened in other countries and what we can be able to learn from them. Estonia is the most digitized country in the world. And there's a lot for us to be able to learn from them in terms of what they've been able to achieve over the years. And this has been occasioned by working closely with the private sector to ensure that data is shared across. And I said in my opening remarks that we want information both ways, from the citizens and also from the government side. So in Estonia, the private sector has been able to open up their data sets, and government can access them. They have one unique ID that serves you from cradle to grave. So effectively, when you're born, you just run with one ID, as opposed to a scenario where, I have a PIN number, I have an ID number, I have an NHIF number, I have an NSSF number. So meaning that our data sits in different places, and it becomes very difficult for us even in terms of planning and for service delivery. So what this does is that there's a lot of transparency in the system. There's greater accountability to the citizens because they know that once I log in, it's a very friendly interface for me to access government services, and I know that my information, wherever it is, and the whole issue of data security is assured by the government. I look at South Africa, what they've been able to do, and for South Africa, leveraging a platform that is very popular in Kenya, and that's WhatsApp. They have GovChat, where government can be able to have two-way communication between itself and citizens. They can be able to make inquiries about government services. And again, South Africa has also borrowed a lot from Estonia, and they have a unique ID which becomes your identity across all platforms, and where you can be able to access services within one place, essentially. But last, what I've highlighted there is the experience from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is that, and we have a big challenge in this country around backlog of cases and cases taking ages for them to be cleared. And through automation and digitalization, what Saudi Arabia has achieved is that the turnaround time has been improved by over 80% in terms of the cases that they're handling. So what are the takeaways for me is that this can't be driven by a single government agency. It has to be a whole of government approach where cross-agency collaboration is essential, and then digitalization empowers citizens and governments. And we must reimagine service journey pathways with the relevant public authorities and users using what is called Agile Labs. I was in Safaricom, and this is what we used to work with to manage the multi-stakeholder complexity and drive citizen experience. We should also enable rapid deployment and simplify integration with back-end systems, which is what we're calling scalable ICT architecture, so that just one standard from the Ministry of ICT can enable Department X, Department Y to be able to just plug into the system, and our citizens can be able to enjoy services. We should also empower a central coordination unit which brings together public authorities, shape incentives to reward outcomes by for creating and driving communication, which is what we are calling smart program management. And this has been done in Estonia, so that issues around data residency, issues around data security can be addressed once that entity is brought on board. Beyond this, and in very few years to come, is that I'm seeing a fully transformed agile government that is built in a channel layer with the user in mind, where we focus on the citizens as not just as a statistic, but for them to be able to access services as they wish from government. You imagine when you go to a hospital, you want to get personalized services. You want your health records to be across the country. Wherever you go, if you go to KNH, if you go to MTRH, if you go to KU, you don't need to open a new file. Just that one unique ID is going to serve you, which is what I'm calling a single front door. That all services, once you get into the door of government, then you can access all services essentially. And again, is is to accelerate and save costs through modular basic components and low-code development, which means that, and I say it's a whole of government approach. Whatever that has been done by Huduma, whatever that is being done by a different government department, we can leverage that and scale it up across the country. And what is the picture of success? What does it look like? Is that once all this is done, we'll have, again, a satisfied Kenyan citizen, a more responsive citizen who is ready to even pay for services. They can provide information that is going to also support our tax agencies, but again from government is that we are going to provide user-centric services. Apart from that is issues around enabling business. Because the example from Estonia has taught us that once business gets transparency in terms of information and data, they become a lot more accountable. They are willing to support government in terms of payment of their due taxes. And that will spur development both in the SME and also the large corporates. Third is around our investments. We'll be able to be more frugal with our finances in terms of what technology do we buy as government. Does it need to be very expensive technology? We've seen in South Africa that just the WhatsApp that we use on a day-to-day basis, government has leveraged that to improve on their citizen engagement. Last but not least is around the whole efficiency out of them. They can be able to see, even in terms of projects that we procure, this is the much that we use to procure for a certain project. This is how much has been expended. We've given the contract to this and that company, and this is the far that they've been able to go. With those few opening remarks, I think I'll expand knowledge by getting to benefit from Mary and the team that is coming next after me. Thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, a more heartier clap for Commissioner Mbithuka. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It is evident that you've given us a very efficacious presentation, and I'm glad because I could see a very observant audience. ICT is a key thing that all of us would wish to embrace, because that is the future, and that is the current situation. I was glad to catch a few things. Citizen-centric approach. Our key end result is Mwananchi. I was happy when you asked us, what does Mwananchi want? Public service is an issue of having citizen-centric approach, and that is the reason you asked us, what does Mwananchi want? And then you gave us the future success in terms of showing us there is hope. Thank you so much once again, Commissioner, and Asante for that well-presented document. We now wish to move to the next level of our first session. And on behalf of Engineer John Tanui, MBS, the Principal Secretary, State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, we are glad to have a nationalist decorated public servant with us, with over 27 years of progress service in governance, and has held several opportunities in strategic ICT programs, systems, such as NEMIS, just to mention but a few. And currently, she is the Deputy Ambassador for ID for Africa 2024-25, and her contributions have earned her recognition from GESI and African Leadership in ICT. Notably granted an OGW by the President because of her esteemed service, and that is none other than our discussant today, Madam Mary Kerema, whom I'm requesting now to drop forth and join the presenter at the discussant area. I'll invite you now kindly to drop at so that let's appreciate Madam Mary as she takes her position. I will also request our presenter, Mr. Mbithuka, also to join the panelist. As I bring on board our moderator this morning, And we are glad because we have our sister, who is a program officer at East Africa at Paradigm Initiative, a committed African Tech Governance lady. She successfully led the multi-sector project that empowered marginalized communities across East Africa and promote meaning for digital inclusion. Kindly put your hands together for Ms. Mariam Beatrice Wanjiru. So I'll hand over the program to Ms. Miriam Beatrice so that she can take us through the area of focus. And I wish to ask if Mr. Leonard Mabere is with us. Kindly be advised. If Madam Moderator, you're set, you have your 25 minutes. Karibu, Madam Moderator.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Mike, maybe you can confirm. Is that loud enough? Okay.
Sound engineer, something. Thank you. Sound check. Sound check. Sound check. Sound check 1 2. Sound check. Sound check 1 2. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Did we not have breakfast? Good morning, everybody. That's more like it. Thank you very, very much for joining us in this very timely and very important conversation. And thank you very much, Commissioner, for laying such a solid foundation for the conversation that we are about to have. Mike, allow me to stand on a already existing protocol. My name is Miriam Beatrice Wanjiru. As I've been mentioned, I work for a fantastic organization called Paradigm Initiative, and I am the regional coordinator in East Africa, where I coordinate our work around digital rights and digital inclusion. So really, this is at the heart and center of what I do every day, and I am so excited to have this conversation seated in the middle of two brilliant, quite experienced minds, and we'll talk about a lot of things. And what I want us to do is to have a very candid and honest, and my role here as the moderator is to ensure that we have a balanced conversation. I have a background in human rights, so we'll also be talking a little bit about balancing digitization and aspects around human rights. And just to sort of like lay the foundation of our discussion, is just I want us to all agree that we are seeing a lot of governments. You've kept mentioning Estonia, South Africa, Kenya. In fact, we are known as the Silicon Savannah in Africa. And so we are seeing a lot of governments taking on digitization, government institutions as well. And this is mostly in a bid to ensure access to information for the Wananchi, for the Wanjiku and Wafula. And in fact, our Kenyan constitution allows and provides for access to information on various articles, like Article 35. So it's really, really important. But what I want us to begin to understand is that for digitization to truly and really serve public interest, it must be, one, human rights respecting. Number two, it must be inclusive. And it also must be accountable. And the goal here, I think you'll both agree with me, that the goal is not just to automate systems, but there's an end to it. It's supposed to create participatory, provide participatory channels and transparent channels and equitable channels. That said, in as much as we will be celebrating wins that the Kenyan government has been able to achieve over the years, especially the last decade, we also will be asking critical questions such as issues around cybersecurity, which is a huge, huge threat for very many governments across the continent and beyond. We'll also be asking questions such as who really owns our data in these systems, right? And how then do we move forward? So with me, I'd like to start with you, Madam Miriam. Thank you again for joining and representing Engineer Tanui from the Ministry of ICT. Let's start from the ground up. Commissioner has mentioned that, Kenya, about 40% of Kenyans have access to the internet, right? That's quite a low number, and in as much as the government is trying very hard to ensure that we digitize and we have more services online. You mentioned around 5,000 services are currently online or available online, particularly through eCitizen. I was speaking to someone from the ministry and they were saying the goal is to have over 18,000 services. But what about the 60% who are still not connected? What is the ministry doing about it? I know there are a few initiatives, so please just talk to us about that. I think the Wanjiku and Wafula and Kamaus need to know what the government is doing and whether or not you're thinking about leaving no one behind. So let's start there.
Thank you so much. I think I appreciate the presenter who has just gone before us, and he has really highlighted some of the things that government is doing. Of course, in the spirit that no one is left behind, and making sure that even as we go digital, we make sure that there is inclusivity. So government is doing a lot of initiatives and projects, and some are still ongoing and some are at the planning phase. But if I can mention but a few, one is to do with issues to do with policy and regulations, issues to do with data privacy, security, cybersecurity, and online safety, even as we go online. We're doing policies around the usage of systems, automation, digitalization, because we are coming from an era where everybody wants to go at it alone. And we've put regulation in place, and we said it is about the whole of government approach. It's about the whole of sector approach. So these guidelines and regulations are coming in to ensure that government is more integrated, is more interoperable, to make sure that service delivery is given to Wanjiku within the shortest time possible. And of course, from the services that have been mentioned, is that we want to ensure that the data is collected once and the rest of the institutions reuse that data. There is no need for you to go for a passport and you're being told to carry your ID, carry your mother's birth certificate, your father's. This data already exists somewhere in government. So we are saying, in the spirit of having identity from birth to death, we want to ensure that the citizen can be identified across this system with one unique identity. So if I go to get a passport, I just need to give my ID number, and everything about me should be able to be available for me to get that service. The other initiative is, of course, issues to do with automation. We've done great strides with eCitizen. The numbers have gone to 20,000 services online. So we are ensuring that, of course, eCitizen is the front-facing. It is already accessible to the citizen, but we are also doing a lot of initiatives to ensure the back end is also automated. Because yes, the citizen will apply online, but the back end is still manual. So still it takes the many days for you to be served. So these are initiatives that government has really put in place to ensure that there is end-to-end automation to ensure service delivery. And in the spirit of taking services online and making sure no one is left behind, government is also doing initiatives around educating, retooling, and reskilling the citizenry. In as much as we are skilling the government officials. We have very ambitious project of training the citizens. We are doing this even with our development partners. The British Commission is already doing it. We are doing it with the MasterCard Foundation. We are doing it with the GIZ. All these people have put programs and supporting government to make sure that our citizenry are educated. The other area for inclusion is the project around connectivity. You've seen government has done a lot of work around putting in public Wi-Fi in markets and in critical areas. We've taken public Wi-Fi even to counties to ensure that the citizens can be able to access this connectivity. We have the ambitious project of 100,000 kilometers of fiber, and there are other initiatives that were already put in place and they are ongoing. We are moving further to even connect homes to make sure Wanjiko can be able to access service at their doorstep. So these are the many projects that government has put in place to ensure that we don't leave anyone behind. And lastly is issues to do with collaboration, co-creating with the citizens and the end user to make sure that whatever we put in place is not about us, but about our customers. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I want to stick with you for a minute on a few things you said. And we said in this conversation, we'll clap where we need to clap and we'll pinch a little bit where we need to pinch a little bit. I think one of the things that I'm super proud of as a country is our issues around data protection, and we spoke about data minimization, which I know is a concept that is robustly well taken care of by our Data Protection Act of 2019. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, that about 36 African countries are the ones that have at least a data protection law, and Kenya is one of them, and I think that's really, really commendable, and the Commission is doing such fantastic work. We've collaborated with them. They collaborate with civil society, with different organizations to ensure that people actually understand their data rights. But on something you mentioned, eCitizen, while more and more services will keep going online, right? And that's the agenda, that's the government's agenda. We equally have a challenge of cyber threats. We had multiple attacks. I think, was it last year that citizens were not able to access or, get on eCitizen or access services online. And that's just one instance. That is one. We are also having questions of, and this has been going on around media in the last couple of weeks, who really owns our data on eCitizen? Do we store our data in the country? Are these things that the ministry thinks about in as much as there's a move to digitize and put as many services online? So speak to those two issues. Cybersecurity in terms of data breach and threats, and also who owns our data and issues around data sovereignty.
Thank you so much. One thing I would want to really demystify here, technology is there to make our life better, but it doesn't mean that it is foolproof. Also, usage of technology starts with us. We also need to be educated on the safety and safe use of internet, because many times it is us who expose ourselves. Many citizens do that, and they are not doing it willingly. It's that they don't have information. They have not been trained on how to safely use the internet. So responsibility is both from the user and, of course, the people manning the systems. On eCitizen, in as much as we are going online, we are not like today, I'll tell you, I've put up these systems and they are foolproof. Technology keeps on advancing. We have people who are enemies of online usage, and that is their day-to-day job. And they'll keep on fighting and keeping on trying to penetrate. So it's for us to go back and also protect ourselves. And as government, even as e-citizen was hacked, nothing was taken away. People can penetrate your system, but it depends how you have secured. And therefore, we've ensured that we put tools, encryptions, data on transit, data on rest, that nobody can make any heads or any sense of any data that they will access. So therefore, when these things happen, they make us more smarter. We make sure that we ensure that we incorporate and put in place tighter measurements and tools to ensure that we continue to be safe even as we go online. So for me, I will not assure you today that we are 100%, but I'll tell you that government is continuously investing in making sure that our citizens, we are secure as we go online. Issues to do with data sovereignty. I want to also separate two things because people mistake data sovereignty and data hosting. Those are two different things. I can host my data anywhere, but it depends on the rights, who has access to those servers and what can they do. So by the servers sitting in Kenya does not guarantee data sovereignty. Or if my data sits in Uganda, it doesn't make that data not sovereign, because I can still host my data there, but the laws and regulations on how to access the data remains with the resident countries. So I think for data sovereignty, who owns our data, the data ownership rests with the owner, the citizen. The government is just a custodian. And these are the conversations that we've been having with the data commissioner. Yes, we put laws and regulations to safeguard the usage of data. But how many people realize that their data has been misused, but they don't know where to get the redress? So we're having conversations of ensuring we put up systems that empower the citizen, because they are the owners of their data. How can we put systems that will always alert the citizen in real time? Who is this who is trying to access my data? And I can give authorization or no authority to access my data. But you see, the way we are doing it currently is that people are using the data and then we come and report later. So we want to put systems that are proactive, that the citizenry can be empowered to the level of knowing who is this, who is accessing my data.
Absolutely. And
Can I add one thing? Because cybersecurity is my area of practice before I went into government. And like Mary is saying, I want to demystify that. All of us here have a WhatsApp account. Majority of us are on Facebook. Where does that data sit? When we are posting that we've gone for lunch, we've done these, our families, our photos. That data sits in San Francisco. But the difference within government is that all your data, like she's saying, hosting, most of it is within country. Because even when you're speaking about cloud, I used to sell Oracle Cloud, and what solutions we used to sell to government is what we call clouded customers, so that the data sits within country. But beyond that is ensuring that we strengthen our security mechanisms, that there is no unauthorized access to that data. And when that happens, we don't live in a very ideal world, is that the resilience of government to be able to now come back to, status quo. There's a faster turnaround time, because even when we had paper records, in our courts, files used to get lost. In our ministries of lands, files used to get lost. So it's the same, because there's a human element around all these aspects. So it's about tying up that human element, being alert to it, and a lot of this is being addressed by AI. We can be able to predict behavior that, this person has access to this data, they're accessing it at night, why are they accessing it, and query all those scenarios. Once you do that, then the question around data security is addressed.
Right,
here.
thank you. You'll just hold on the mic because I want you to come in next. And I think Sharon, next time just invite us to just talk about data because we say data is the new oil and rightly so. And I think particularly for Kenyans, the question on where is our data is quite profound, and you can't blame them because we're seeing a lot more AI systems that require data, and people are asking, why don't we just have this data in our own country and build our own AI system? So it's quite valid, and I think thank you for demystifying that. And just as we finish on that topic, yesterday I was watching Sam Altman, who's the founder of ChatGPT, and he said the only reason they've not been able to move from ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 5 is data. They've consumed all data online, and so data is really the new oil. But let's shift gears and go back to digitization and the digitization agenda in the country, and you sit at a very vantage point at NGEK, and I'm wondering whether the commission has either designs or conversations around that, as the country is moving towards ensuring that more services are online. We have systems in place to ensure that, they are gender responsive, they are disability inclusive, and broadly aligned with Article 10 of the Kenyan Constitution. And so this can look like, I've seen in different countries, they have gender impact assessments on digitization systems and programs. Is this something that the Commission is already doing or is thinking of doing, and how do you go about it just to ensure inclusivity?
Absolutely. And again, on what Sam Altman said, that, his company has ingested all the data that is available online. A lot more data is not online because he has no access to our Swahili data. Their large language models are not built with us in mind. And that's a big question around AI for Africa, AI for Kenya, because those are conversations that we need to have. But back to the question around our mandate as NGC and what we're doing to ensure that, because digital access is a human rights issue, it's not a technology issue. Because when a PWD is not able to access information that they require from government, then it becomes a human rights issue. When someone in West Pokot cannot be able to access government services because it's not accessible to them, they have no coverage, then it becomes a human rights issue. And as a commission, those are areas that we've a lot of focus on. We've gone further because data is available from the GSMA around, ownership of mobile devices, because Kenya right now, penetration is at around 118%, but internet usage is at 40%. So what can be done to, unlock that opportunity for the 60%? What are the initiatives? And as a commission, our work is advisory. Essentially, once we get the data, we go through it and advise government on interventions that can be able to bring all these communities on board. One of the things that I need to point out is that Kenya as a country, we are the only country in the world that has a digital accessibility standard. And that was came by around 2019. So meaning that as government designs solutions and interventions on digital platforms, then the whole aspect around access by visually impaired persons is considered as part of design. So by design is to be accessible to all. So that's my take.
All right. In just a minute, and as she adds, in case we have maximum of 2 questions, because I'm told time is up, please prepare your questions. We'll only take 2 questions, but Madam Mary, go ahead in just a minute.
Yes, on the issue of inclusivity and digitalization, we are also inculcating, there is the PWD online standard access that was developed to use with the help of the British Commission. And we have now deliberately moved into ensuring that any online platform ensures that the people with disability can be able to access these services. So for example, the government websites are being retooled and revamped to ensure that the people with disability can be able to access. And we want that all our solutions should be PWD by design, not an afterthought. Thanks.
Lovely. Great to hear that the government is actually thinking about these very critical issues. I'm just looking for any hands. Someone will help me identify. Someone who wants to ask a question or contribute. We've spoken at length about inclusion, AI, data sovereignty, the 60% of Kenyans who are still not included. But, Mike, if you see anyone who has a question, did we identify?
As we wait, can I just have one interjection?
And also, as you interject, you made a presentation, brilliant presentation, and you are making reference to countries such as Estonia, and I couldn't help but think, are we biting more than we can chew if we compare ourselves to Estonia? I mean, the population is a little less than 2 million. We are about 55 or over, 55 million in the country. So when you talk about interoperability, which is what you're talking about, systems talking to each other, it's a bit easier for Estonia, someone would argue. So are we biting more than we can chew if we keep comparing ourselves to Estonia and the progress they've made given the differences in population? Please interject, and in case we have 1-2 questions, I'd be happy to take those.
I would say that we have stronger teeth than Estonians. We have, a greater youthful population, tech savvy. And Estonia did not get here, as one big bang. They've been at it since 1996. And this is a journey that a country we can be able to achieve much more faster because we have reference points for us to learn from. But what I wanted to say is that tech does not need to be always complex. And we've learned this from different countries. I did a project while at GSMA with the government of Bangladesh. And a lot of interventions are even on USSD platforms. That's how government interacts with Wananchi. They can be able to call an IVR, interactive voice recorder, and get information around, where to get seeds, where to get, weather updates, and all those kinds of information. So essentially is to demystify that tech does not always to be a mobile application. It does not need to be the difficult things, because if we leverage that and access the 66 million of us who have access to a mobile device, which is not necessarily a smartphone, then some of the interventions around government, we can design them to be accessible to these kinds of populations. Thank you.
I believe those were your closing remarks. Or did you need 10 minutes? I'm being bullied by Mike, so I need to bully you as well. Just let me know if we have any question, because we want to wrap up, get our closing remarks, and wrap this conversation up. If there are no questions, that's fine. It means there are 2 questions. Okay, all right.
You're pointing where the question is, or you have a question? Oh, those are 2 things. Can you pass the mic?
Okay, I'm called Serafina, and I have a question. As we pursue digital transformation through AI, how do we ensure that technology progress does not outpace our ethical, spiritual, and societal values?
Anyone in specific you're directing the question to, or either?
I've directed the panel.
To the panel.
Okay. And last
Any other question? The last question? Thank you. There's a second question here.
My name is Gordon Ochinomlanya. My question is in regards to data access. Your question was based on who owns our data, but who can access our data? Actually, I would need a response to this, because I feel like when it comes to cyber security, there is nothing like, is it onion approach when it comes to security. Onion approach, when I talk about onion approach, is like layers of securities. Then who can access our data?
Thank you so much to the panels.
Thank you very much. So, Madam Miriam, I'll start with you. Who can access our data? And as you also give your closing remarks.
Thank you so much. I think I would want to speak on, as I also go to the data issue, on the issue of AI and emerging technologies. One, I would like to say that we cannot run away from technology. Technology is here, but what matters is how we use it. So, for example, AI is here, but it depends on how we endeavor to utilize it to make our lives better. So, as we go into AI usage, for example, in Kenya, we've already developed the AI strategy. We are currently doing the AI policy and guidelines and principles to guide us on how to embrace AI. AI, for me, I don't call it artificial intelligence. I call it amplifying our intelligence. And it doesn't show our African ignorance. So, therefore, if it is coming to amplify our intelligence, then it means that we need to put measures in place to ensure that we correctly utilize the artificial intelligence. So therefore, for me, government is really doing a lot around putting laws and regulations, policies, and guidelines on how we can use this. Of course, AI started with models, and they have been here for years. It's only that it's now that it's really being talked about, but AI has been there for ages. For me, I want to say that in as much as we're talking about models, yes, but also let's think about agentic AI, where we go into reasoning AIs, equalizing AIs, where we are very sure that whatever that is input or whatever content is being generated from AI is accurate. Because we are hearing people talking about embracing AI in health, AI in agriculture. You can imagine using AI and messing up somebody's health. So I think we need to be very sure what kind of models and what kind of agents we are embracing as Kenya. On issues to do with data, who is accessing our data, I want to bring to the attention of the people in the room that as government is putting up systems, security is by design. It's not everybody who accesses data in any database. It has categorization of access, and if somebody is telling you that your data out there, for example, that your data in the identity NRB is being accessed by everybody, I think it's not true. So we have put measures in place that the person who is supposed to access your data is somebody who has a right to access it and is using it to give you services in government. Of course, on issues to do with cybersecurity, we have institutions that have been positioned to ensure that they can monitor our space on issues to do with cybersecurity. And also, of course, we are coming up with the Cybersecurity Operations Center that keeps on monitoring all these issues to do with data breaches. And I said, ultimately, we are having a conversation, and soon and very soon, we are coming up with a system that empowers you to know who is this, who is accessing my data, and for what. Right. So we are continuing to perfect this area, but my parting shot is that technology is really here to make our lives better. let's also, as government, we are ensuring that we co-create with the citizens. We are calling the citizens to the table, the consumers to the table, to build the table together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Commissioner, your closing remarks, but also you can comment about artificial intelligence, which is also a broad but necessary topic. And I think I should have asked you this both, particularly because I sit in civil society and advocate for human rights, and it's a bit, contradictory when we say we want as many people online, and then we see, issues around internet shutdowns, suspension of, there was Telegram was suspended last year and the year before. So are we speaking from both sides of our mouth? Just something for all of us to think about. It is quite unfortunate because for the first time in Kenya's history, last year during the Gen Z protest, we had internet shutdown, and there's evidence to this that access went to about 40%. So are we speaking from both sides of our mouth? Something for all of us to ponder on and to think about. And of course, as you rightly said, access to the internet is a human right, and it's not a luxury. So as you also give your closing remarks.
Right, from my side, I have no recollection of government shutting down internet. Probably you're speaking to neighboring countries. Because, the outages and occasional outages across the country. I worked in Telco, and, that can happen. But having said that, the area of AI is a developing area, and for us, focus for government would be around developing regulations to ensure that there is ethical usage of AI as tools to drive prosperity. It's been a challenge, especially teacher friends of mine tell me that they always find that their students are ahead of them. They go on GPT, and in 10 minutes they're able to do their assignments. Is that essentially making us lazy? Is it a good thing? So, those are areas that we can be able to speak about. But again, Mary has challenged us that we cannot move away from this. It's tech that is making our work easier, making our lives better. So for us, it's just extracting the positive value out of it. For data residency ownership, I think a lot of it, beyond what Mary has said, is our individual responsibility on ensuring our data is secure. Is just to dissuade us from going online and clicking our websites and accepting to share your data, personal data, because unless you have control, unless you know how your data is going to be handled by the different people that you're interacting with, then that responsibility also rests with you beyond even what government is going to do. In terms of closing remarks, way back in the 1990s, when Keso Brewing came into this country, East Africa Breweries came with the slogan that marketers say is what drove Keso Breweries from Kenya. It said, and I go, Tusker makes us equal, has no equal. And for me, seated here today in this panel is to say that digitalization and technology is the greatest equalizer. It makes us all equal and has no equal. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much. Yes, a round of applause. Brilliant panel. And as I wrap up this panel discussion, I'd want to add to what you've said on over and above technology being an equalizer, it's also an enabler. And in as much as it's an enabler, we are seeing more and more platforms not being as neutral as we thought, and that's why we appreciate guardrails and policies and strategies, and we commend the government in doing so, and we also need to ensure that we are not leaving anyone behind, and I think you are rightly positioned to ensure that that continues to happen. Thank you very, very much for being quite an awake audience and for asking very critical questions. I've been your moderator, Miriam Beatrice Wanjiru. Thank you very much for your time. Back to you, Mike.
Let us appreciate our moderator and the panelists with a round of applause. More heartier clap, ladies and gentlemen, for that well presentation. Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you, our sister representing the PS, Madam Mary, and also our brother, Commissioner Michael. We've come to the closure of that morning session, and I wish now to invite all of us for a health break that will take less than 15 minutes. We will be coming back for a very interesting topic. And the presenter is already with us, Dr. David Ogide. He's already with us, the bishop. Kindly, I beseech your indulgence that we take less than 15 minutes tea break. We have enough serving points. Choir be first to serve so that you can come back and warm the house for the next session, as I invite all of us for a head break. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Let's appreciate our panelists as they are taking back their lead. Asanteni sana. We break for health break kindly for 10 minutes and then we come back. I request the choir kindly to be a bit faster so that they can serve and come back to give us some warm-up as we start our second section of our early morning. Our panelists will be guided by Daktari to have a debrief at the VVIP Lodge. And once again, I say thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Mike Ombithuka. Thank you, Madam Mary. And say hi to my good friend P.S.